Alright, so apparently there's this like free speech essay thing going on, and today our principal made it mandatory for all 11th graders to participate in the free speech essay competition. So seeing as I'm in 11th grade, I am now a part of this competition. Do I want to do it? No, but I have to do it anyway. So the question that we have to answer is, what do we feel the freedom of speech in the United States Constitution means? How do we feel about it? What do we think it means? All of that other stuff. And so it got me thinking, what do I feel that it means? I mean, naturally, freedom of speech, the ability to say what you want, how you want, when you want, and whatever about. But at the same time, does that come with limitations? At some point, does the freedom of speech fail? And that's what I'm going to address in this essay. I feel like at some point, freedom of speech should definitely fail, so to speak. Like, it should have a limit. Like, I don't want to intrude on anybody's ability to say what they want, but it's a difference between saying what you want and having a reason for saying it, rather than saying it just to be saying something. Like, I know that a lot of people are against animal cruelty and testing products on animals. Okay, that's cool. You can write papers and have speeches and protests and things like that. But freedom of speech at a certain point should fail once you go out and you tarnish the reputation of various companies that you suspect of using animals to test their products on. You don't know for sure. Like, you just, oh, I feel such and such uses animals. This is what I think because this other company uses animals, and that's been proven. So if they use it, since they combine with so many other products, they must use it too. That may not be true. At that point, freedom of speech should fail. I don't want anybody to, get arrested and things like that. But if it comes to that, it should definitely be necessary. The freedom of speech is a right enabled to us by the U.S. Constitution. But at the same time, it's also a right that we have to learn to use within its set parameters. Like, everything comes with guidelines. So we all need to learn the guidelines behind using the freedom of speech. That's like the right to bear arms. Yes, you have the right to have a gun, but the guidelines that come with having a gun are you must be licensed, you must have all the right paperwork and all of that other stuff. You can't just go and get a gun and you're an ex-convict. It's not okay. It's not right. You no longer have the right to bear arms because of the parameter that comes with it. So with the freedom of speech, after you let's just say after you step out of those guidelines that are set there for you, that are there, at that point you no longer have that right. You can no longer just go out and say how you feel. You always have to use the right words. That's like when you want to tell somebody, oh, today your hair might not be too nice, your clothes might not be the way that they should be, your body odor is you have to pick the right words. That's the way freedom of speech should go. Yes, you can say what you want to. Yes, you can say it when and anywhere, but say it the right way. You can't get on TV as the president and just go out and say, my fellow Americans, F all y'all. Like, you can't go out and do that. Freedom of speech has its limits. The president knows that. That's why when he addresses the union and things like that, he uses the correct words. He sits down, him and his team, and they prepare things for him to say, because he knows that he can't go out there and say anything. That's staying within the guidelines. But then there are those people who will go out and say anything just to get their point across. That's not okay. That right there should violate the freedom of speech. So what is the freedom of speech in my opinion? The freedom of speech is the ability to say how you feel on subjects the right way, using the right words. You stay within the guidelines. You don't step out and I guess you could say, become an outlaw, because that's what you're doing. As soon as you step out of the guidelines of anything, as soon as you're out of bounds, you're now an outlaw. You're now breaking the law. You are now outside of the jurisdiction, I guess you can say. You no longer are protected by the Constitution with your rights, because you have now stepped outside of that. When people go to prison for whatever crime, they no longer have, well, people might say that they have the same rights, but they no longer have the rights that they had before they went there. Why? Because now their reputation is tarnished because they have went to prison. They no longer have the same things we have. People might say they do, but in actuality, they don't. And it's sad, but even people of different skin colors no longer has the same rights as everybody else. Why? Because that's the way society works. That's the way it's been since any of us remember, since any of us can go back in history. It's the way it's been since the dawn of time, I guess you could say. So most things won't change. But I mean, you know, it's all guidelines. Even though people might say everyone has the same rights, even if they don't, you still know the guidelines. So if you want to use these rights or try to gain these rights, stay within them once you get them. Don't step outside. I mean, if we didn't have these rights, we would be like all of these other countries out here with all these other problems. Yes, we have our own problems, but compared to somebody else, I mean, come on now, ours aren't that bad. So stay within the guidelines. Freedom of speech, freedom of press, and all of that, keep it together. You can do it, but make sure you're doing it right. jwolfepoetics.